Good morning! How freaking good does this look? This is Greek yogurt, protein powder, and some berries. I just got done with my first client of the day, and I wanted to pop on and talk a little bit about a free workout program that I made just for you. I mentioned this in a video a while back. I think it was in this one right here, but I created a free 8-week beginner gym program on the Boostcamp app. So while the program is kind of aimed more at beginners, it is definitely applicable to all levels. It's very basic functional strength training, which really just means with purpose. And the purpose of this program is to not only get you used to basic movement patterns, but make sure that in a 3-day split, we are covering all of our bases from hip dominant, knee dominant, horizontal pushing and pulling, vertical pushing and pulling, rotating. So getting in all of our different planes of motions, tempos, movement patterns that lead to a better feeling life. So what we're gonna do today after I'm done with my clients is go to the gym, and I'm actually gonna try out day 1 of the program. Like I said, it is a 3-day split. We have a full body day, then an upper body day, and a lower body day. The full body days are very traditional strength training, just like you do your deadlifts, you do your rows, you do your squats, you do your overhead pressing. And then on the upper lower split days, we work in more supersets. So there's a nice variety for everybody. And as we go through the program today, I'm gonna talk about the why behind each exercise, and if applicable, any progressions or regressions that you might need to take. Before we do that though, I do wanna just walk you through like the app itself because it's very cool, it's very sleek. So let's do that. All right, so when we open up the app, we're gonna go to the Discover page. So if you scroll down, you can see that most of the programs are free. And here is me. So it says I have 215 athletes on this program. It's beginner 3 times a week, and it is called Functional Strength 101. I think the really nice thing about this is that you can scroll through day by day, week by week, and actually see every single program. I really like that because I just like to know what I'm in for the day. And then if you come to the workouts tab, you would be able to click start and start the workout. We'll go through this a little bit later too as I'm doing the workout, but you essentially just enter in how many reps you're doing. When you come down here, you can do, let's say I'm lifting 100 pounds. Let's say I do 8 reps, and then you can click on this little RPE, rate of perceived exertion. You can see here that I'm aiming for a 6 to 8, or I want you to aim for a 6 to 8 every time. So you can actually add this in as well. Let's say it's a 7 intensity. Let's say the next time we do 8 reps and it feels like a 7.5. So you would just go through the whole workout like that. Another nice feature is that if you go to this little tab, you can also add warm-up sets, you can add exercise notes, you can swap the exercise. I believe this is a pro feature. Yeah, so you can have a paid version too. So if you really want to have access to a lot more features, you can do a paid version, but otherwise, again, this is a completely free program. If you also click on the exercise, we're gonna have a little workout video pop up right here.
So starting at the back of our space, we'll tuck the head.
You know, when you listen to yourself speak and you're like, oh my God, that's terrible. And then I have 7 ratings so far. 1 of them is written. What does Katie have to say? So this person did 6 weeks of the program. They rated it 5 stars, and they have 3 years of prior experience. So like I said, this is not just for beginners. I simply designed it for beginners to feel comfortable in the gym, but you can simply just add more weight, add more reps, get your RPE up a little bit. They had strength gains, much more than expected muscle gains. We love that. Marginal modifications, love that. Program is really well-rounded and makes it easy to progress to heavier weights and more challenging exercises. What did I say? Thank you, Katie. If we go back to the main page, we can look at our history so we can see different exercises we've done. I was following a kettlebell program on here. The training page, we have analytics over here. So again, some of these are pro features, but you can go to your workout history on that last page. So overall, it's a really simple, easy to use app, and there are so many programs here and here. Also, some of these have an insane amount of athletes, which I actually love that they brand it like that, but like, I just kicked the camera. This one has over 22,000 people following this program. That is insane. If you're not sure what program you want to choose, you can always take a survey, and that's going to match you with something. You can also just sort by category, by level, by the equipment that you have access to. And honestly, I'm just really excited. And this is why I was brought in as well, aside from my knowledge. But you can see most of the people on here are men. There's nothing wrong with that. But obviously, the fitness industry is a male-dominated space. So to have my little face on here, I'm just really proud and excited about that. We're going to take this program and we're going to go to the gym. Every workout is going to start with a warm-up, and I always want that warm-up to be as specific, strategic, and succinct as possible. We are loving the alliteration today. Now, I already made an entire video on how I plan out my warm-ups, but let's do a quick review. Looking at my program today, I've got a hip dominant movement, a knee dominant movement, a horizontal pull, and a vertical push. So I essentially want to give some attention to not only these movement patterns, but also any joints or muscles used in these movement patterns. Starting off with the world's greatest stretch, this covers a lot of these bases at once, which is why I love using it, especially in a beginner program. Then I flipped right over into some floor slides, which will prep us for our vertical push and warm up the back for our horizontal pull. A simple glute bridge is a fantastic way to wake up the glutes and hamstrings in a hip dominant pattern, and I love pairing this with a supine core drill like a dead bug because you're already on your back. The dead bug is going to engage our core through anti-extension, which is also what a deadlift does, and we see that first in our strength program today. Then finally, I'm going to stand us up for some good mornings to really drive home the hip hinge, since it's a movement pattern I find a lot of beginners struggle with. Now, could we do more in this warm-up? Absolutely. But if you're doing a few key exercises with intention rather than just flying through, you can absolutely be primed and ready to go for your workout in under 10 minutes. Diving into our strength work. So today is a full body day comprised of just 4 exercises done in their own time. The other 2 workouts this week are in an upper-lower split with a superset structure. I think for beginners, it's just really important to spend some time focusing on one thing at a time and figuring out what your 6 to 8 RPE or rate of perceived exertion is, which is where I'm going to be asking you to be for pretty much every single exercise. So to figure out what that 6 to 8 rate of perceived exertion is, you should be able to make complete sentences during your lift, but sound like you're working hard. Another way to think about it is like, do you have 2 to 4 reps left in the tank? So the first exercise is a kettlebell deadlift. You could also do this with a dumbbell flipped up on its side, but I specifically want us lifting the weight from the floor rather than performing an RDL from a standing position. I think this is a much better option for beginners to understand how to create tension at the bottom of the lift, which is where I see most people losing their form. Now, if you're a more advanced lifter doing this program, either perform the exercise with a super heavy kettlebell, with 2 kettlebells, or you can load up a bar. Now, this is a hip dominant movement, which is something we want to see at least once a week in our training program. So on our lower body day later in the week, we'll not only see a hip dominant movement again, but we'll also make it a unilateral variation, so we're hitting all of our bases. Next up is the seated row, which is a horizontal pull. That means on our upper body day later in the week, we'll see a vertical pull so that we again cover our bases functionally. Something I think that's so great for beginners are machines. They're great for all levels, but remember that I'm specifically making this a beginner program. Machines are super stable, you have your own space, and there's even instructions in case you don't know what to do. And feeling confident in the gym is honestly half the battle, so I'm always down for some machine work if it's needed. Now, if you don't have access to a cable machine, you can absolutely swap this out for something like a bent over row instead. It's a more challenging exercise in terms of stability and locking in on proper form, but you will still get that horizontal pull pattern. All right, here's the thing. Unless your squat mechanics are impeccable, I'm probably going to start you with a goblet box squat. And I think that a box squat gets a really bad rap as being like lazy or easy, but let me tell you, it's only easy if you make it easy. Now, this is our knee dominant exercise, and you guessed it, on our next lower body day, we'll see another knee dominant exercise, but it will be unilateral or single leg rather than bilateral or both legs. Now, a lot of people have issues with squatting either due to mobility restrictions, core strength, or honestly just like proper rib cage to pelvis alignment. So giving the target of the box helps not necessarily fix a lot of these things, but at least makes our squat patterning accessible and safe while we address those other things more than likely in our warm-up. Now, if you're more advanced, I would say still try this out for the first week. Load up the weight, slow down the movement, and do not rest your butt on the box. I used 40 pounds in this video and I was dying. And for my beginners, as we go through the program, you'll see I take the box away. This goes for all progressions of all exercises, but if the progression we take on a certain week is too hard or simply doesn't feel good, go back to the option from the week prior. A modification is not a moral failing. It is simply the smartest way to listen to your body and get stronger safely. Finally, in our strength section, we have a seated overhead press, which you can see I am not doing here. My shoulder's been bothering me, and instead of pushing through just because my program told me to, I modified it with some gentle band work. Like I literally just said, a modification is not a failure. Now, if you're doing the overhead press, here's what it looks like. And it's a vertical push, which means that we'll see a horizontal push on our upper body day. Hopefully you're figuring out the formula. Now, if you find that you have limitations in your overhead mobility, I would try out a few things instead. 1, try doing this at a machine instead so you're more stable and locked in. 2, use a landmine if you know how to do so. 3, swap this for a push press if you know how to do so. Or 4, use a long band instead so you have safer positioning without the weight over your head. And finally, at the end of most sessions, I'll do either some core or cardio work to finish it out, but I actually didn't do it today because my shoulder was hurting me and I had nowhere to really film the skaters. I hope you enjoyed that gym session. So again, I'm gonna leave all of the info linked down below on how you can download the Boostcamp app. I will also say if you're somebody who enjoys more at-home workouts, this could easily be adapted to an at-home setting. Or I do have a 4-week Back to Basics program on my website within the Fit Club, and I actually designed the Boostcamp program from the Back to Basics program. So 2 options there for you, but 1 is free. Any questions, as always, leave them down below, and I will see you all in the next one.